Hello, hockey fans, and I'm here to get you ready for Game 7, which takes place tomorrow night. Game 7 Stanley Cup Final between the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. This is the 18th Cup Final to go the maximum 7 games, and the first since 2019. It's going to be quite amazing, and the capture you saw before the start of this is from my story on Vocal about the complete history of Game 7 of the Cup Final. The link will be featured, so check it out when you can. But Game 7 is always amazing in any round, but it's the final. It's always crazy and wild. The past 17 Game 7s have had some wild moments, and it all started with this picture coming up now. Check it out. The black and white photo you just saw is of Sil Apps, a legendary player who played for the Toronto Maple Leafs back in the 40s. The photo's from 42, and he's holding the Stanley Cup. Yes, that's what it looked like back then. Of course, the 42 final is getting mentioned a lot because Edmonton is one win away from pulling off the reverse sweep. And the only other team to do that in the Cup Final was the Maple Leafs in 42. But what people kind of forget is that was the first Game 7 of the Cup Final ever. And Toronto won 3 straight games to force that Game 7, and they took Game 7 against the Detroit Red Wings at Maple Leaf Gardens to win the Stanley Cup. Of course, 3 years later in 45, there was almost another reverse sweep, but this time it was Detroit trying to pull it off, but Toronto put a stop to that in Game 7 that year in 1945. So that was averted. Those were the only other times that a team forced Game 7 after losing the first 3 games of the final. This occurrence coming up. It's the third time and the first time since 1945. Pretty much, which it's just crazy, isn't it? So that's one key. That's one key Game 7 memory. Here's another one. Yes, that photo is from '94. Of course, every hockey fan knows that story. The Rangers were looking to end their cup drought. At the time, theirs was the longest in the NHL because people let them know it too. 1940 chance. And this is their best chance. Of course, that year is remembered for the guarantee that Mark Messier made in the conference final. And it came through. They beat they forced Game 7 in that series and beat the Devils out to reach the Cup Final. And it was a tight series between them and the Vancouver Canucks, but the Rangers won it, and of course they took their first cup since that year, 1940, and for Messier it was his 6th in his career, and the image of him pretty much laughing his ass off holding the cup, that's a very iconic image even now, just barely over 30 years later. So yeah, that's another Game 7 moment. Now, it would be 7 years before another Game 7 took place. One that's very special to me. June 9th, 2001. I will never forget that date as long as I live. It was a Saturday night, and I wasn't nervous at all because I had a feeling we were going to take this. I mean, the Avs were on a mission that year because remember, we were coming off losing in the conference final back-to-back years in Game 7 to Dallas, and we got over the hump and made it back to the final, second time ever. And it looked iffy because we entered Game 6 down 3-2, but Wah got the shutout that got us to Game 7, and I will never forget how it played out for us. Alex Tanguay, that's a name I will worship as an Avs fan for the rest of my life. He put one in the first period, and then he put one in again in the second period to make it 2-0. And then Sakic scores this beauty. This beauty. He fakes a shot, then shoots it in to make it 3-0. Now, the shutout bid ended. But Wall wasn't giving up another one. And, of course, we all know how it ended. The Avs won. Ray Bourque finally got his cup after 22 years and rode off into the sunset. It was the Avs' second cup. This was our third. And we didn't need 7 for this one. But that's what makes this amazing. It's amazing to know that the Avalanche are a winning part, a positive part of this Game 7 history. And the evening of June 9, 2001, that's an evening I will always treasure. And it was just absolutely an amazing, amazing evening. And that's some of the Cup Final history. And as you saw, June 24th, 2024, at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, will be the day for Game 7 of this year's Stanley Cup Final, the 18th Cup Final to go to 7 games, June 24th, 2024. Before I end this video, a few more fun facts about Game 7 of the Cup Final. Again, there have been 17 before this one. The home team is 12-5. The road team has won the last 3, so that definitely helps the Oilers. This is the 13th Game 7 to feature a Canadian team. Canadian teams are 6-6 in these games, but they've lost the last 4. Edmonton was part of that losing streak in 2006. Though Edmonton was also the last Canadian team to win the Cup Final Game 7. For the Panthers, for the Oilers, this is their third time playing in Game 7 of the Cup Final. For the Panthers, obviously, this is their first ever. The Maple Leafs and Red Wings have won 3 of these, tied for the most. The Canadiens have 2. They're the only teams that have won multiple Cup Final Game 7s. And out of the 17 previous Cup Final Game 7s, only 2 of them went to overtime. 1950, 1954. 1950 needed double overtime. The Red Wings won both overtime games. So it's been 70 years since the literal final game of the season, the overall final game of the season, Game 7 of the Cup Final. It's been 70 years since it went to overtime. Will this one go to overtime? We will know. We will know on Monday night. It's going to be epic. It's going to be amazing, and I am very excited for this. Oh, and another fun fact. This is the second Cup Final Game 7 to take place in Florida. The first was 2004. That was the Tampa Bay Lightning, who beat the Calgary Flames, and that was the last game before that lockout that killed the next season. So, that is my historical piece regarding Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. If you like this video, click the like button. If you're on YouTube, click subscribe and want more. If you're on TikTok and Instagram, feel free to hit that follow button. And once again, my story on Vocal is featured. If you want to read the rest of those, if you want to read the rest of the fun facts about Game 7 of the Cup Final, check it out. And the next time I'll be here will be after Game 7 to congratulate the winner. It's going to be awesome, and I am all ready for Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Stay tuned.